I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, May the 27th, brought to you in part by Noromycin by Norbrook. Noromycin is an economical 300 mg oxytetracycline that delivers the same amount of antibiotic as a 200 mg option in a lower volume dose. And it's readily available without a script. For more information, go to norbrook.com. It's happening, guys. We're getting noticed. The word's getting out, and the right people are saying the right things, and we finally broke through the invisible wall that it takes to get into some lawmakers that have some pull and have a big voice. There's been a letter put together by Senator Mike Rounds and Tina Smith, and it's a cattle crisis letter. The letter is addressed to Attorney General Merrick Garland. Now, we talked about a letter that went from Iowa Cattlemen's Association last week. This is a different deal, but they are calling for more lawmakers to sign on to that letter. And then there's a big push in social media anyway for everybody to call their lawmakers, the ones that are supposedly looking out for their interests, especially you guys in the big cattle states. I mean, it's ridiculous if they're not signing on to something like this or getting involved in something like this. But this letter, I got a copy of it sent to me from a good friend of mine, and I tell you what, I'm not sure exactly who constructed it, put it together. I'm thinking it was probably from Mike Rounds' office. Mike Rounds out of South Dakota, I've met him. He was at one of my talks that I did up in South Dakota one time. And he gets it. He absolutely gets it. And he's one of the guys, and he actually stood up and talked after I gave my presentation to a large group that we had in South Dakota there. And he's one of the ones that says, guys, you guys got to get together, tell us what you want, and then we can do it. So I think that this letter kind of comes at the heels of that meeting of truce that they had there a couple of weeks ago, and then we had the statement that came out on it. And that's what they've been looking for, is major associations that represent the cattle business getting together and pushing, and now they can go and do something. And I tell you what, it is going to raise some eyebrows, and I hope we get a lot of people joining in. A lot of the lawmakers joining in and adding their name to this letter. But I tell you what, when you read through it, you can tell that they get it. They absolutely get it. They address, it's about a 2.5-page letter. They addressed antitrust issues in there. Probably my favorite statement in the whole letter, what I read, is that, they're talking about how the Packers have been able to defy expectations of market fundamentals. Think about that. Defy expectations of market fundamentals. That's exactly what they've been doing. Exactly what they've been doing. Even whenever we get things going our way, we just don't have any leverage in the trade. And we've got to have more market transparency. That's another thing that they put in there. Inadequate price discovery. They even addressed mandatory country of origin labeling in there, which I know you RCAFers are really going to love. They also addressed the imports, cattle coming in from, or beef coming in from other countries, and they noticed that there's an increase in that whenever there's an increase in the price of cattle. They actually pushed really hard against the Packers and Stockyards Administration. What's left of it now, it's really been watered down, but P&S actually come about 100 years ago, 1921, kind of established there, and it was meant to do exactly what we need to do right now. Keep a level playing field, market transparency, keep your consumers from being abused by monopolistic practices from big packers, and they calls the P&S out big time. Of course, all of you guys that listen to this know as well as I do that PNS is and has been worthless as tits on a boar hog for decades and decades and decades. Ever since the stockyards days. I mean, back when we had the terminal stockyards, you had PNS agents on the yards and they were overseeing things. They got lazy whenever things went to the country trade and everything kind of moved west. When the big commercial feedlots started, they just quit enforcing everything, and that's what's got us to this point, is the failure of the PNS to enforce the rules that were on the books there for that Packers and Stockyards Administration bill there, and so here we are, guys. But we've seen other big names come out. Kevin Kramer from North Dakota. Senator up there, he put out a statement on Wednesday, and it was well publicized. I even saw John Thune, and it's not that I ever had anything against John Thune. It just surprised me that Mike Rounds was carrying the ball for the cattle people. I mean, South Dakota is a huge cattle state, and there's not a whole lot of other things bigger, so why wouldn't you get on it? But I was kind of frustrated because I had never heard John Thune talk about it a lot. I watched it on the news on Wednesday. John Thune was standing there in front of a big press conference, and the minority leader in the Senate was standing right next to him, and he brought up the very issues that we're talking about. So he's on board now. And I tell you what, if we just had more representation out of South Dakota, I think we'd be well off, you know. And and their governor's not too bad either. But we need sound-minded people like that to get in here and push this. And guys, I encourage you to get a hold of your lawmakers, the ones that are representing you, and tell them to push on this. We've got this thing rolling. We've got it rolling in the right direction. We've got to push it now. So, and I really feel like we're going to get something done. You know, Charles Grassley was quoted in an article here recently saying that he believes that his 5014 bill can be passed. He's encouraged that they can pass that. I'm encouraged that if they did a hybrid, which I've heard talk about, between it and the Cattle Market Transparency Act that has some more flexibility and has some things in it that we definitely need to add in there. If we're going to pass one of these bills, let's make damn sure it's a good one, but let's don't dilly-dally around. We've got to get something done. But, and he was also, Charles Grassley was quoted in a tweet that come from his office, and he was glad that JBS quit NCBA and said maybe they can represent the grassroots, cattle people now, if they don't have so much infiltration from your packers. But I tell you what, I mean, we got big names talking about this stuff. And if we can get something pushed through, we've all got to get together. Of course, U.S. Cattlemen's Association and RCAF are carrying the ball for this. We figured they were going to have to. NCBA has been pretty quiet. You haven't heard too much out of them at all. But they are getting out of the way. And that's exactly what I told you a week or so ago. After we talked about this meeting of truce. We've got some guys blocking up front, your Farm Bureau Federation, Farmers Union. We've got a couple of the smaller Cattlemen's Association running with the ball. And finally, we got NCBA at least getting out of the way. So that's what we need. And it's a shame that 60% of their budget at least comes from checkoff dollars. And we've got a big referendum. I tell you what, NCBA is scared to say anything for another month till we see if we got enough signatures to have this referendum. I think it's time for a check on this thing. I think it's a performance appraisal time on the way that the checkoff dollars have been spent. You guys think so too? I encourage you to go to checkoffvote.com and sign that. It doesn't take very long. It ain't hard. You can do it on your phone. Had one of my Feeder Flash gang members say that he paused my report, went and did it for it took him like 2 minutes to do it, and then come back and finish watching my report. You guys can do that too. If you're not very tech savvy, get one of your grandkids to help you out. Checkoffvote.com. It's not that hard to do. We've got one more month. 1st of July is when they're going to see how many signatures we got. We got to have over 88,000 of them, which sounds like a lot, but it's not really when you figure anyone that bought one, sold one, or owned one, in a calendar year is eligible to do that, because they paid the dollar checkoff. So we need to get that done, because that will cause even more rift. It will cause even more attention, and that goes right along with everything we're trying to get done right now. So I really encourage you guys to do it. My friend Corby Coast from up in North Dakota, he sent me a message on Wednesday, told me about a farmer feeder up there in North Dakota. He's looking to get a banner big enough to fill the whole side of a pot, semi-cattle trailer, and they're going to say on there, Packers making another $40,000 on this load, on the backs of the consumers and the cattle producers. I hope that guy gets that done. But like Corby said, and why most folks won't do anything, they're afraid of Packer retaliation. Packer retaliation is terrible. That's why we can't get much done, is because if you come out and say anything, even if you send a tweet or a Facebook message or something like that, they're liable to, the Packer buyers liable to call you and tell you to take it down. That's dirty pool, guys. That's strong arm tactics like the mafia uses or something like that. And don't think that your Packers are above that. I mean, they would be right in the middle of that. You remember the old mafia days in New York. A lot of it started out in your meatpacking industry. But retaliation is something that everybody's scared of. I'm always telling guys, ask more for your cattle. A lot of the guys are telling me, hey, if you don't get to ask what you want for the cattle. They bid you, and if you don't take it, then they dry lot you for a couple, 3 weeks. You can't get a hold of them. They won't come bid on your cattle. That's too much power. It's dirty pool. It's an unfair trade practice, and we've got to straighten some of this shit out. And I hope it gets done. Gosh, do I hope it gets done. And we're always cussing your corporate feeders, and I wouldn't say cussing them, but saying that they're partly to blame for this. I know a lot of those guys, they want something done too, but they're in these formula arrangements, and they've got contracts with these guys. They can't say anything. They're on a gag order. You think there wouldn't be retaliation if one of the big corporate feeders come out and got behind one of these things as bad as they want to? And I'm telling you, they do want to. Those guys didn't grow up in a corporate home and learn about the cattle business in a corporate lot. They grew up just like the rest of us, trying to scratch out a living, in the cattle business. So don't get too much behind, against those guys. They just, they can't say anything. And I tell you what, these Packers have got way too much power. And it's you can it's with any relationship. You can push and push and push. Do that with your wife, Come home at 10 o'clock, every night for 2 or 3 weeks, and then make it 11 o'clock, and then midnight, and you just keep pushing, and then finally enough's enough. And I think they've gotten too cute. They're making too damn much money. And you got people that have lost all their equity and are going broke now. And enough is enough. And we finally got a big enough collective voice. And I'm going out to Nashville to the LMA conference and the World Championship Livestock Auctioneer Contest. I'm going to shake Larry Schnell's hand for getting that deal put together with LMA. And he's kind of aw shucks and I didn't do that. No, he's the one that decided, hey, we need to get all these associations together. They're kind of in a real intricate spot there where they could do that, and I'm just tickled to death that they did. and glad that somebody stood up, you know, and had the stones to get something like that done. Let's talk about your board. On Wednesday, June live cattle futures down 27 cents at 116.45. Most heavily traded August down 77 at 119.32. We kind of liked it up in the 120s there, but going on your back months of live cattle down 2 cents to down 50. So tough day for a commodity there of what we produce. How about feeder cattle? May down 12 cents, 136.50. All important August lost a lot of what it gained the day before at down 147 at 155.20. Go out from there and it was up and down from down 82 cents to up 45 on your back months. Corn, old crop July up 4 1/4 cent at 624.5. New crop December was up 5 cents a bushel at 520 3/4 cents. How about beans? Old crop July beans down 8 1/4 cent at 1503.5. November down just 1/4 cent at 1347. So seems like they're cooling off a little bit. Those grains are. And it's a good thing to see. Your fat cattle trade. Again this week, you know, packers don't need any cattle, and I mean, they shout it from the rooftops on a Monday morning early. We're full, we don't need any cattle. Again this week, they bought cattle on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Not a lot of Monday this week like they did last week, but still, we've had trade all through the week here. Iowa, 6,000 head confirmed on Wednesday from 119.5 to 120.5. Which would be a pinch better there. 187 to 191, that's kind of where we've been trading on a dress basis. Nebraska, 3,700 head, 120 live and 191 dressed. That's what we've seen. That's been your established price there. Kansas, 7,100 head, from 118 to mostly all 120 and 191 dressed. Texas, 4,300 head, from 116 to 120. And you're saying, what in the world went on there? You know, Central Stockyards, Fed Cattle Exchange online fat cattle sales auction, they've been looking for some positive media and things like that. Selling 1,400 head of cattle from 116 to 117 on there is not a good thing. I'm not sure what went on there. A lot of times when we see cattle consigned on there, they're from a corporate yard that we know has a formula arrangement, but the cattle are on there. They sell cattle $3 and $4 back of what they're bringing in the country at the same time. I don't know what went on there, but that's kind of messed up. How about Colorado? Few sales at 120. Box beef cutout values finally backed off. Your choice finally backed off. I mean, we haven't seen it even squiggle on the line back, but finally eased off just a little. Of course, it's still almost $3.30 a pound for choice boxes, but choice cuts on Wednesday afternoon, $329.49, down 43 cents. Select 304.05, down 21 cents. How about your slaughter? 357,000 through Wednesday there. That's up 4,000 from last week, up 134,000 from the same week a year ago. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Wednesday at 136.97, up 61 cents. And I'm telling you what, your big feedlot outfits, I mean, they turned it up a notch. Talked to some buyers around and they said, man, I got a lot more money than I had early in the week, and they just looked at their plan and sketched things out and decided that they wanted to get some cattle bought. And you know, of course, they probably went out and contracted some more grain there for their feed. But anyway, turned a notch up and bought several more cattle, and the trading just became more active. And of course, your prices increased. We have got a very competitive feeder cattle market. We don't have a problem there. But your problem for your feeders is, as long as they continue to buy cattle in a competitive market and sell them in a non-competitive market like your fat cattle arena, it's a very, very poor investment, feeding cattle. But we need a lot of players to do it. And if we keep having our cattle feeders drop out and have fewer and fewer players, then at that point we're going to run into a problem keeping a competitive feeder cattle market. But right now it's been real good, and it has been good. Why? Because we have most of them sell at auction. Imagine that, sell them to the highest bidder. Look at your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 9,400. Biggest sale this week in the country. Had a lighter run of calves on Tuesday, but man, like 8,400 head on Wednesday for your feeder cattle auction. Cattle coming off wheat. Tell you what, that wheat's starting to head out, and you want to have some problems. Keep cattle on wheat whenever it starts to get tough and head out. Then, man, you're going to have lump jaws and things like that. But still good, been okay now, and it's been enough moisture going around that's kept it pretty tender. But cattle coming off, and they'll be coming off here between now and, most time we want to get them off there before June. So I guess it is time to get them off of there. And here they come. Big droves there in El Reno. Feeder steers, mostly steady to $2 higher. Feeder heifers, $2 to $4 higher. I'm not going to complain about the trend. I know I give my former co-workers a lot of hard time sometime about the trend, but I can't disagree with it. Look at the automated market report from Cattle Market Central there, and this is just on the Wednesday sale. It doesn't include the 1,000 or so calves that they sold on Tuesday, but look at these big droves of 8 and 9 weight cattle on there. If you want to know what the market is, how about the central part of Oklahoma there in El Reno selling big drives of cattle in these feeder weights? Look at your best tested weights. 1,858 head of 8 weight steers in El Reno, average 851 pounds with a weighted average price of $133.69. That is absolutely the market, guys, right there. And that's all of them. That's not just hand-selected, hand-picked cattle. That's all of them that went through the sale, good, bad, and ugly. Over 1,400 head of the 9-weight steers averaged 950 on the button. You think that's not a good cross-section? With a weighted average price of $125.02. Look at the heifers. Nearly 1,050 head of 7-weight heifers averaged 749 at $128.58. 788 head of the 8-weight heifers averaged 844 at $122.80. Outstanding quote that I saw from El Reno was 52 head, 999 pound steers. That's, you could just, throw your gum in the ring and they'd weigh 1,000 at $1.30. So that's a pretty good quote there, guys. That's an outstanding quote out of an outstanding sale there at OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma. How about Winter Livestock, Dodge City, Kansas? Much lighter run there at 2,100, but still active market. Feeder steers $4 to $5 higher. Feeder heifers $5 to $8 higher. I'm going to give you guys several individual quotes from all around the circuit because it's a good day for that. How about my friends, the Patton family? Dave Patton and his boys there and the whole family at South Central Regional Stockyards in Vienna, Missouri. Really good sale there, and they have really, really top quality cattle in that area. 92 head, 603 pound steers at $168. Wow. How about Jared Herman at Cherokee Sales Company in Cherokee, Oklahoma? 59 head of 867 pound feeder steers at $137. That's a big time quote for some weighing on the top side of the 8s there. How about Springfield Livestock Marketing Center in Springfield, Missouri? Josh Ford there, he gave me a quote on those, and I found it on Cattle Market Central. And when I flash these quotes up here, I didn't type that in, guys. That's an automated quote that comes through Cattle Market Central. And if you guys want to be involved in that and you got a sale barn, get a hold of us. It doesn't cost you anything. 78 head, 631 pound steers, bring 165 in Springfield. Big time quote. How about a big time quote? Been telling you guys for the last several weeks out east, those green yearlings that they've got coming this time of the year when there ain't none out here. Well, some of these wheat cattle are, but you get in other spots, in the upper in the northern plains, those are backgrounded cattle for the most part. But Russell County Stockyards in Russell Springs, Kentucky, sold 66 head of 811 pound steers through the ring there at $140.10 in Kentucky, guys. But the best quote that I saw anywhere, and your Zach Tran quote, top quote for the day, come out of Bloomfield Livestock Market. Roman Schooley giving me the heads up on the Hilltop Ranch cattle. Couple of quotes here. I couldn't figure them out. I'm going to give you both of them, and they're both top quotes for the day. Both from Hilltop Ranch. 134 head of steers, weighed 794 at 148.60. And the one I think is the tippy top quote, 69 head of steers, weighed 750 at 152.85. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.